in, feeling like maybe that was the option, but now Canyon lands that Q and thinks about going for his own battle. Rascal's going to teleport into the mid lane. That is going to spell the end of the aggression. Decent amount of damage onto Beryl there with the Force of Will.
Yeah, it's a support still going to eat so much just from Force of Will alone. Shoemaker, level 14, but he is going to hit hard.
And I don't even think he needs the true damage portion of the upgrade of that ability to do true damage to Beryl right now, as Rascal thinks like he's found Canna. Now in the back of this pit, a bit of the Thunderdome there happening, and Canna wants out. He's just going to bounce over that wall quite nicely.
Remember, have we learned DRX? You're going to have to play this one slower. Do not heavily commit to the back line, or you will be crushed by all the CC this comp has to offer, especially when Narbar is up. Got to play this one slow.
Yeah. Bit of a Rascal flank to come through here as well. Does have the ulti available if they want to go for something. Decent poke damage onto Showmaker there, as now we've got Meganar. D+ Kia, it's time to go for a bit of a battle, and once again, it's kind of just looking for that angle, looking for that approach.
Should just let this time out, play it slow, pull the Drake back. Rascal tracks it, knows where the Narbar is, maybe look for a turn here.
Yeah. Now they can dive onto him, but Canyon's just going to dive over. There is the final chapter. It's a fair bit invested as they just boot him into the Dragon Pit. Nature's Grasp going to come through. Canna is out of this fight completely, but that teleport is just about to be back up yet again. Then he can start recharging that Narbar one more time. He's going to go home, get that health back. DRX is going to desperately try and secure this Dragon in the meantime. Fate going a little bit too far forward there, but does a lot of work onto Showmaker in that backline. Rascal now takes control of the Drake, but here comes Canna. He doesn't have any Narbar, but does he even need it? Fate is going to be taken down first. That's another kill for the Sivir. Canyon grabs another, and the Dragon is just going to be forgotten because D+ Kia just want to kill all of DRX's members. It is finally going to be taken down here, but now it's hide and seek as DRX attempt to escape.
It looked like the fight that would never end, but Kana surviving is massive, comes in there, hops over the wall. He's not done yet either. He's got a Yumi on his back, and he wants to make sure this is a full wipe. Rascal also out of luck, and this may be the beginning of the end of this game.
Oh, there's the counter-strike. There he goes, 1,000 gold for the Jack. So that is definitely good news, but the good news is going to stop there for a moment because now Croco is circling the drain. There he goes. But still, Rascal, last man standing, is going to be able to pick up a bunch of extra money.
Yeah, he picks up 1,000 gold, be able to, easily escape and go home here. I think he wanted to stick around for those extra minions, but Beryl said, nope, you're going home. I'm going to hold this wave. Well, this fight lasts forever, right? And DRX really got split and had to come around the back of this pit. And once again, it's this Rascal engage. He uses his cooldowns, and then Kana's like, you can't peel through your backline anymore. Jax can do nothing. Look at where Rascal is in this fight, and Kana's like, I'm back here, I'm full health, I got hop, I'm going over the wall. And DRX are trapped between a rock and a hard place. I know that's our favorite thing here to say on the LCK.
Hey, first time of the year, though.
Yeah, first series of the year, first time.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we would go to the end of this, and it's just really sad. But I think that Damwon Kia are just so patient, even against the Victor comp, where there's so much long-term damage, the Victor can keep chipping away.
Managed to get that kill as well. Okay.
Rascal is at like 0 health. Let's see how this happens. Oh, Def just walks forward, and that's wow. Okay.
Def was just like, but I can just hit him with one ability. It's fine. What is Jax?
What does Counter-Strike do? I can still shoot him while he's doing that, right? It happens to all of us. You know?
It does. Happens to the best of us. Quite literally, it just did right then. We saw that.
You have 1 health in League of Legends, you still do the same damage as if you have all of your health.
Yeah.
And if you can't die, you will do it if you can close that gap.
Well, it's now 3-item Sivir, so as much as that was great for Rascal to grab the 1,000 gold from getting that kill, he is 100% of his team's kills right now. And that isn't a good thing. Sometimes that's a good thing, because it's like, I've had such a great early game. Look at all these kills. Not so this time around, as D+ Kia just moving towards this mid-inhibitor turret. The Baron is actually still alive, but they're still just going to try and break things open. Turret going to fall down towards the top side of the map. Good wall up there as Canna avoids the counter-strike stun. And the rest of D+ Kia are on their way towards this top side. Canyon not wasting any time. Glitterlance is going to go wide. That actually might spell the death. No, it doesn't. Because Canyon went for a bit more of the greedy Sonic Wave, aiming for Beryl. Out of the weak, not going to find Croco there.
But this is going to be the end of this turret, and so much control around the Baron pit. DRX have one controller left in the pit, but it'll be cleared very quickly. And this becomes another jockey for position around an objective here. Canyon will likely go over there and clear that one out. I guess not.
Yeah.
Just not going to clear that one. But look, DRX's win conditions here are, once again, longer team fights around objectives. And at the beginning of the game, they were doing a great job of starting that poke war off with Fate and getting into position to chip away at the front line, wait for Kana's Narbar, play it out slowly. The way they played that second major Drake fight was way better than the last time where they tried to dive in and kill Def, which failed miserably. But it still wasn't enough in the end because they chased so far towards Kana, and he escapes, that they're on the wrong side of the pit. Damwon, or rather D plus Kia, actually get back control. And with the amount of control they have on the map, they can just, after resetting, group up here on Baron. We will hopefully see that ward cleared this time around. They just aren't going to check the pit.
Yeah.
But that's okay, it happens. And I mean, now as DRX are like, okay, we're looking for that third item, Zeri. Got that point now, let's check that box.
Yeah.
But need a real team fight where she actually gets to pop off and Kana doesn't actually control the entirety of the team fight. It feels like this has just been Kana's Gnar day.
It certainly is. And he's been playing around his Narbar very well. I thought that at the beginning of that last battle, right, when Kana went down extraordinarily low, had to back, that was a possibility for DRX to get in there. They played around the Narbar very well. They saw it go off, and then they waited and waited and waited, and then went for the battle then. That's precisely what you want to aim to do, but the way that D plus Kia just respect it, they back away as well. They make sure that they don't give away any dragons in the meantime, but it is all about playing around exactly when he can be powerful, because without that big Gnar to be that front line and to also threaten with that AoE CC, then D plus Kia don't really have as much of a dangerous CC force in this composition, right? It's just, you know, like a Yuumi ult or an amazing
Syndra.
kick from Canyon or these scatters, but it's less the sort of big circle of death that you can have. It's Twisted Advance to get Croco in there, but immediately he wants to get out. The kick flash going to come through there, and Def handed yet another kill. And without the jungler, I think it might be Baron time, Wolf. I'm not entirely sure.
I think you could be sure of that. A pretty bizarre call from Croco here to go in when his team is still managing that mid wave. At least they could trade it for Soul Point, but Soul Point's not even Soul. Feel really bad about this one as a DRX fan as Croco goes in alone. The rest of the team isn't there for a follow-up. There's just no vision, really, for what he's trying to accomplish there. He goes to the stun and the follow-up ult, and then you see Fate come through. Duck Dom's really close by. You can burst a lot of those health bars down, and even if Croco dies, you're like, okay, did all the health bars of damage, though, we can win the longer fight. Now, you've lost control of the game, and with these empowered minions, D+ are going to at least take out this inhibitor, maybe more.
Yep, and the back is going to be stopped here onto Duck Dom. He gets to skate over the wall, but that's so much of the damage taken away from the defense of the base. The inner turret is going to be taken here on the bottom side of the map as Canyon comes down. There is going to be a Jax to help defend for Duck Dom, but I think D+ Kia might be equipped with a little bit more destructive power onto this base. As Fate has to flash. I don't think it's going to be enough to save him here as Def gets yet another kill. He is on such a rampage right now, even though it isn't necessarily literally a rampage, and he's also just going to get taken down. The Jax turning up in the nick of time, and it feels like Def's one weakness is Jax.
Yeah, it's been Jax getting into melee range of a Sivir. Somehow, it's happened twice, and 2 times Deft has died. As this time, Rascal commits the flash to take him out, and very successful play there. Shuts down the end of the game. These DRX can hang on, and they do have Soul Point, but can they get Kana? I don't think so.
Not this time. Showmaker going to return the favor from earlier, teleport in to this turret, see what they can do. Zumi's going to come down, and the boomerang connects onto Croco. Hop to buy some space. Nice sidestep, but I don't think it's going to be enough to save Croco's life, who just gets electrocuted. My goodness.
Croco, such a great aggressive player throughout his career. You know, we commentated him at the Kespa Cup, you and I. It was kind of one of the first looks of him. We saw him over the next 2 years of the LCK. There's just going to be a replay of Fate getting taken out. You can see Def get flashed on when Jax appears. But, you know, beyond some of the consistency we've seen from him in early games especially, you know, you compare him to a player like Dread. Very good at the early game, super strong at snowballing games. You get to the late game, sometimes it feels like some of these engages are a little bit forced. And he's been punished so many times on this Maokai. 4 deaths now to his name. And D+, They're 7,000 gold ahead, and they're looking to end this game as quickly as possible. We're in a low state in terms of objectives here, but they still have 30 seconds left of Baron buff, and they're getting everything they can with it. One mistake from DRX, and this is a 2-0 finish.
Yeah, the problem is that, yeah, it's Fate and Croco that just aren't really offering too much to this game right now. And Beryl also hasn't necessarily found too many of his big wild growth angles that he has found in the past. This base 100% in tatters right now as Def is looking for even more. Extendo Beam just going to get eaten by a spell shield. Def not showing too much fear so far, as we saw from his bounce with Rascal. And this Nexus turret not long for the world. Can D+ here actually do it right here and confirm and solidify their first 2-0 win of the season? Final chapter comes in, going to be answered by a stopwatch being broken by Rascal, gets himself out of the way. The Unleashed Power comes in from Showmaker, so that's a button that isn't going to be available. However, it is going to spell the end of this Nexus turret as well. So Naked Nexus now for D+ to try and take down. Canna charging up his Narbar, but Knockdown actually does a fair bit of damage at this stage of the game.
He has GA, so he can just engage and sacrifice his first health bar.
Yeah, that's true. Just going to be that body into that front line. The wallop is going to be fantastic. Counter-Strike doesn't last forever, even though he wishes it could. As, oh no! Not quite enough to be able to take down the Jax there as Croco is going to fall. Canyon gets it as he's getting Bramble smashed away. D+ Kia just trying to get as many of the extra kills as they can.
Just like, check those inhibitor timers. I've been here before.
All right, I can tell you, we still got like 4 minutes. We got 4 minutes, Wolf. I think we're going to be fine. Although they haven't done very much damage to this Nexus right now. As, oh, Sonic Wave going to miss, but the Scat of the Week is pretty good, Rascal. The one dangerous thing in Deft's mind right now as Boomerang Blade comes in, but Showmaker this time the Unleashed Power is going to come back up again and isn't going to be mitigated by the Jax. And finally, the Nexus will go down. D+ Kia, 2-0 victory in the first match for the LCK for Spring 2023.
Really clean stop from D+ Kia. And
had a difficult summer, but I think that all of those doubts got washed away. Had a difficult summer, but I think that all of those doubts got washed away on international soil. So, let's see how it goes. On to into pick and ban here for game number 1 of our second series of the evening. T1 will be on the blue side. Gen G selected red, largely considered to be the most powerful side, although we saw if drafts go wrong, blue side can also be very powerful. The Maokai to be taken away first. Caitlyn removed from Gumayusi, of course. Gumayusi and Deft are the two players that are just never allowed to play Caitlyn. That's just sort of how it goes.
We will see a Rise ban on blue side here for T1, showing that they're not interested in giving Faker one of his most iconic picks here first.
Yep, I guess they watched the Rise video from 2018?
2018 after the 17 win.
Yep.
One of those stars on Genji's banner, just down below.
Indeed.
And here we go. This is going to be the final ban here. Ashe still open. Var is still open. This looks like Lucian's still open. This could be a very different look in terms of how the bottom 2v2s are going to go with Empowering Yuumi gone here. There's the Ashe and Varus ban. As I say it, a little bit of a lag on our API, but they do come through. So, you know, if you want to pick something like a Zeri here, you have to be aware the Lucian's on the other side. They'll first pick the Nami.
Ooh. Interesting that it's the Nami, but I guess it doesn't really matter. You don't pick Lucian without Nami, you don't pick Nami without Lucian. So whichever one you pick, not really too much of an issue. Obviously, Gumayusi has something else that he could possibly play with it if there were some shenanigans, but likely that Gen G just takes something else instead. Having a look down, though, there aren't a whole lot of great options outside of just handshaking with the Zeri Lulu.
Yeah, I think that might be the best bet for them. Now,
oh yes, Peanut.
This is usually used in a winning blue side lane, not usually on the red side. And we'll swap over the Sejuani for
Certainly a bunch of different options here.
His hand's off the keyboard, so I think he may have already locked it in, but he looks frustrated with whatever the result is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, last second change. Just going to lock the Lulu, keep his jungle choice up in the air for now. I like that. Give him a bit, like if you can't make up your mind, give it a little bit of extra time. Ona, oh, do it. Just do it.
Yeah, well, Lee Sin, Lucian, Nami as a bot 3v3 is insanely powerful. One of the next best things outside of the Elise. We have seen D+ Kia find success with. We know the Lucian goes in this slot. They're going to use this time to think about what that jungle pick is going to be here and reset the timer.
Yeah.
You don't know what the jungle matchup is going to be just yet against Peanut, but you know that something that pairs well with your bottom side control against rookie AD carry Pays is absolutely the best bet here. And there's a lot of options, right? It doesn't have to be the Lee Sin, but it's a very owner champion, the owner champion.
Oh, yeah. And also, I don't think it, goes that poorly into something like the Elise, but this would be the anti-Zeri option. I really like it. T1 picking for the comp that they see on the other side of the bench.
Point click, take that Zeri out. And, I mean, he had a great time on the Lee Sin all year in 2022, but he was a great Vi player as well. So, not a shocker here. Vi definitely fitting the enemy composition a lot better. Peanut, in situations like this last year, would go back to the Poppy. But it looks like they're not going to prioritize it in this case. Rather, would get the Cassante pick.
Yeah, finally, we're going to see some Cassante. I didn't see him all series last time around because it was a bit of an obsession with the Gnar versus Jax matchup. This time around, we will finally get some Cassante there. Doran going to be wielding that one.
See the Fiora ban. We might also see a Gnar ban, which has been one of the lane responses to the Cassante. But as was shown by Kana in the previous series, it doesn't even necessarily need to be used that way. But they picked the Cassante before the second ban phase here, so T1 now have full information about what this Cassante pick is, but they won't, Jinji has the opportunity to protect it. And we'll see Wukong, which is another one of those really strong junglers to help peel for Zeri, set up team fights, play around top side with the Cassante taken away.
Yep, another one of those options removed from Peanut's wheelhouse. Of course, Peanut has a decently large champion pool after being a player for so incredibly long. But it was one of them that he was considering, and certainly does do well when you're in these Zeri compositions. Create as much of a ruckus as possible is generally the aim of the game.
Poppy a little bit out of date, but really wouldn't mind seeing a ban on it here because Peanut has shown specifically can punish these, aggressive 2v2s so well. But they'd rather take out Chobi's Cassidon, which we did see him pilot in the Faker versus Deft show match series. He looked extremely good on it.
Yeah.
Defensive Elise here, once again teased. Obviously can be used very aggressively in the top lane for Cassante, but we haven't seen Elise used like this just yet in Korea. More on the winning 2v2 lane, and Lulu Zeri can hold their own against the Lucian lane, but it's usually that side of the map, the blue side, where the Elise looks for that level 3 pressure.
Yeah, it's level 2. Level 2, Zeri Lulu are very strong. But as we saw, that can go really badly, Wolf. If you guys were watching Game 2 of our previous series, Game 1, Game 2? Game 2. Game 2? Yes, it was Game 2. My brain is, I'm sure, in there somewhere. But that was when Barrel overstepped, and they weren't able to actually utilize that added power, and then from that point on, the game was kind of over. Azir and Gnar to be locked away here. Of course, Zeus' most iconic. His debut champion that he really did make a real mark for himself on, as Talia is locked for Chovy in that mid lane.
T1 have a composition you can trust, that you can believe in, right? You've got Zeus on his iconic Gnar, first champion he ever played in his debut, one of his best, one of his most famous, right? And he's made a name for himself very quickly over his short career. You've got Gumyuzi on Lucian, Lami with Keria, Faker's playing as Azir, so you have tons of engage options here between the Azir ult, you've got Vi trying to lock down the Zeri, Gnar. I mean, there's so much you can do here. Besides that, you've got, of course, Keria's ultimate. But I think what Gen G are trying to do here is really fishing for mid-game skirmishes, trying to get Zeri kills you wouldn't otherwise normally get in a lane versus Lucian. I think they are going to play a little bit more towards the bottom side here and try to fight fire with fire. If Zeri gets ahead, the mid-game gets easier, your path to that third item gets easier. I think what Gen G are doing is really forcing in some ways a square peg into a round hole, but they've got the players to back it up, they've got the skill to back it up, and Pays is the ultimate late-game carry, AD carry player from Challengers. And his first game against Guma, he has to play against the Lucian Nami lane, get to that late game, and then show how good he is at late-game team fights.
Yeah.
Best possible scenario if you're a Pays fan.
It's absolutely true. However, I still think that the matchup is really hard if you are on the Zeri Lulu side of it. And I think that will be asking for a bit of help from Peanut to get down there and really start putting the screws in, because it's going to be a lot of necessary jungle attention there towards that bottom side. As we check it out, T1 tried and true. So many of these champions just fit these players so extraordinarily well. meanwhile, on the other side, it's Peanut back on an old favorite in the Elise here. Doran trying his hand at the Cassante that he has been spamming in solo queue, of course, like every other top laner. Anyway, let's not waste any more time. Let's hop onto the Rift for game one. All right, here we go onto the Rift for the first game of T1 versus Gen G. Very excited to see how this one is going to pan out because, of course, last time these two teams met, it was a Gen G victory in the summer final. Now, things have changed on one side, not so much on the other.
It's so interesting because in some ways, the reason why Gen G was so dominant that season and why they crushed the finals was because Ruler and Lehens knew the meta so extremely well. They were the best Zeri duo, and they were the best Lucian duo. And now we're looking at, okay, yeah, it's Lucian and Zeri again, so many months later, but it's kind of a different iteration, and it's obviously a very different bottom duo. So some Gen G flavor to a very new 2023 Gen G.
Exactly. Chovy going to scope out the ward here. Grabs himself a bit of cash money. Feels good about that one. Now, I do want to step away just for a moment. I think it's time for a little bit of education and story time because we have introduced these really, really cool new flags to LoL Park. As you can see, it has all of the accolades of the teams, of course. T1's easily the most full at this point in time, having won so many domestic titles, 10 to be exact, as well as
three international, or 3 worlds.
Yeah, 3 worlds. Also an MSI there as well. Just throw a few different options there.
Throw some IEM in there, you know.
Yeah, there's a few accolades. But looking at Gen G, there's only 2 that are recorded there. One of them is from the Samsung White Flu Days. And the other one is, of course, 2017, the World Championship there. And also being able to pick up their win finally in 2022.
The star Chovy put on the flag.
Yep, but Gen G have the ability to choose which one of the accolades from their spot. Because, of course, I mean, that could also include MVP Oza, because the slot was purchased by Gen G eventually, but did go down the line many, many times. But they've decided that they want to start their own legacy. They're only including a couple of their accolades. Whereas on the other side of the coin, you've got teams like Humble Life Esports that have taken the 2016 victory of Rocks Tigers because that was the slot that they took over. They've included that one on their flag. And Breon, a similar thing. Najin E Empire in 2012. They've taken that star as well, just to show a bit of the legacy in choosing to do so. And the teams had the opportunity to either do it or not do it, based on their slot.
Speaking of Rocks Tigers, you can see Peanut's win rate on Elise.
Hey, there we go.
Pretty high across his time. And yeah, they wanted to honor that MVP rejoined the league, so didn't steal that one. But in the top lane, Zayas is in trouble.
Yeah, might be having a bit of a bad time here. Turret not going to get tanked just yet. This is being played pretty beautifully by the Nah. However, can be a very difficult time as Doran going to very comfortably just move out of the turret range. Elise, she's just the best diver. Okay, Chovy in a bit of trouble here as he does just flick back the Emperor of Shurima. Faker will assert his dominance, though, as Chovy may just go back home.
That was very close there for Chovy, who doesn't have to use Ghost or anything. Barely had enough mana to use that shove to get himself out safely. Yeah, the dive potential of this Elise, we talked about it. You're not going to be using it defensively at that level 3 timing because the Zeri and Lulu should be under pressure in the lane against this Lucian Nami. You're going to be using it on the top side of the map with the Cassante pick against the Gnar. And I think T1 very well aware that this is a possibility, but unfortunately Vi's on Raptors right now. Owner's not here to help you out. Like you mentioned, the hop here is beautiful. Jumps on Doran's head, saves the flash here till the last possible second. But there's just too much damage in the kit here of Cassante this early, and with the repel, there's no way Elise dies to turret. Super easy die. like you said, for Elise so strong early on. So already, you know, making us believers a little bit of a different type of Elise, not just bot dive only. And he's back.
It's top dive only, as it turns out, as Zeus doesn't have the flash available. Can hop, and of course has now Ona beside him as well, as a bit of a scuffle on this bottom side. See how things are going to turn out. Of course, both teams aware that junglers are on the top side of the map. As Peanut just wandering all the way through. Okay, lands the Q. But just a bit of harassment here, as you can see. Doran on this Cassante having a pretty good time. As Bubble going to be avoided really nicely there by FaZe, actually.
I want to point out Genji's vision control. They have 3 wards on the top side of the map. A control ward deep next to Raptors. Peanut knows he can pull this off. He's
the heal going to be used preemptively. That is a great cleanse just after the relentless pursuit. Gumayusi may still go down, and there it is. First blood, second blood, sorry, going over to FaZe. But he may just go down. Peanut going to be the first one to fall. Now FaZe looking for even more. This is aggressive. Flash is the last possible second to get out of the way of the Aqua Prison. Gen.G, they give away 1 kill in the aftermath, but otherwise a dive that does work out until it doesn't.
Like I said, though, fishing for those early Zeri kills here in a lot of ways around these early skirmishes, it was tough to pull off, and they did it at the expense of Peanut. But all of that vision I was talking about made Peanut feel like he was safe to pull this off. But let me draw your attention to the mini-map, where we actually see Owner passing through lane to make sure he's unseen, knowing this dive is coming. Peanut was spotted top. They know he's passing bottom to look for this dive, and Owner is here. Unfortunately, seconds too late to save his AD carry, but it'll at least take Peanut down as a trade of kills. So really calculated on both sides of the junglers here. FaZe loses Flash as well, which could be relevant in the coming moments as Owner hits level 6.
No, absolutely. I think actually getting that Flash towards the end there is almost even more important than taking down Peanut there with the attempted Flash Vault Breaker from Owner. So not end of the world or anything like that for T1. They're only down a couple of 100 gold, and we've already spoken at length about their composition and its strength, especially as the game continues on. I think mid-game is going to be such a dangerous time for Gen.G before FaZe has hit that 3-item power spike. Doing a decent job here in this lane, as you can see. Very even on farm. And now, with the rest of the map working out quite nicely for him, especially there towards the top side with this Cassante in the early game doing very, very well. Like we've seen sort of across the world, really. Cassante's been played a heck of a lot in the LPL, but hasn't been very successful at picking up wins. I think a lot of people really like him for the laning phase, but haven't found a way to really transition towards getting those teamfight wins in the later stages of the game. But we'll see how Doran's going to be able to do here. We saw in Challenger earlier in the week that Cassante was a bit up or down. We did see those Cassante moments where it feels like he dashes an infinite number of times and you die, which has been my experience personally. But often you do see him sort of run out of steam.
And he's a really unique champion in that he's very tanky and annoying to deal with, but then he also becomes a deadly killing force, right, in a team fight. And this is the thin line that Guma and Keria are going to have to walk in these team fights, is how do we chip away at this frontliner while also making sure that he's not in range to kill us, shove us through a wall, and create a disaster in the back line, where then you have a Zeri who's just completely uncontested in DPS. Faker has to do a lot of carrying. I mean, Faker himself could be vulnerable if he decides to shuffle in. Doran pops his all out, and then Faker dies. So, very scary top laner to deal with in mid to late game team fights. As Peanut's going back for another pass here. Owner this time with ult available.
There's a Weaver's Wall up here as well. Peanut does kind of get thrown away, but the Cocoon is still going to land. Gumayusi will be the first to fall. Carrier now down here. Peanut goes up into the sky, trying to escape this one. The glitter lands, but the turret, never mind.
Still in range of that one. Even
ran
after
out of
repel.
spiderlings. You know, you hate to see it. Oh, dear.
Still beautifully played from Peanut here. It's another kill picked up for FaZe. He's 2-0-1, and it sounds crazy what I was mentioning in draft, like fishing for the skirmishes to get Zeri ahead, and we usually see this on a Drake fight. You know, if Zeri gets ahead, the Zeri moment where suddenly she gets 2 kills and you're like, uh-oh, she's accelerated, this is a big problem. They're using the Weaver Wall here to unfortunately lock Peanut out, but the hope is to actually make sure that Owner can't come through here to follow up. The execution is a little bit poor here, and Peanut does, of course, once the Spiderlings fall, get that turret aggro and die. But it's still a win for Gen.G because Zeri gets another kill. And the faster Zeri gets accelerated in a draft like this, the better your chances of getting through that mid-game and having those late-game team fights for FaZe that you've been looking for are already up a Drake.
The thing that I'm really enjoying here is a lot of the criticism that Peanut got at Worlds was being too subdued throughout the early game, especially sort of being run around the map. We saw this in the Gen G versus then Dom1 Kia series, now D plus Kia, of course. And a lot of people were like, oh, you know, Peanut's not playing that way, and blah, blah, blah. But now, back on a champion that he used to be so well known for, especially for his aggression, he's been everywhere. On this Elise. Right now, they do manage to clear out that ward. Another one going to be picked up here. Value, am I right?
Yeah, big sweeper value. And, you know, so far here, it's not a lost cause or anything like that from T1, but this Lucian pick hasn't gotten the value you normally see when you're willing to give over that red side Zeri Lulu. And I think a lot of this has just been Peanut faster on the draw, which does feel reminiscent, of course, it was a long time ago, of the summer finals where Peanut outplayed Owner in that series quite significantly, just having a good read on the map nonstop, and he's coming down the long way again.
Yep, Peanut now going to be here for the potential counter gank. We'll see whether Owner's going to go for it, because I believe he is unseen as he lurks in the alcove. Peanut, oh, he gets the information. And there, finds the cocoon. They dive on top of Owner. The ult comes through from Pace. Tidal Wave is beautiful for the defense. Owner does manage to get out. Flash, though, did have to be used as Doran has to dash away from these boomerangs.
That was so scary for T1 there for a moment, because Owner made the conscious decision, I'm going to stay here. I think we win this 3v3, but if Zeri gets more kills, oh.
Yeah, Chovy does have Flash available. Elects not to use it as he flashes eventually to get out of the way of the Conquering Sands. Holds on. Oh, the Ghost was actually not off cooldown just yet. Zeus looking for another kill opportunity as Owner's moving on in as well. Volatile Spiderling spots this out. The Cocoon is going to land on the man to the backside of the fight. Not actually connecting onto Owner there, but Chovy is just going to keep his cool and head back home.
Yeah, this does, of course, delay Chovy's back a little bit here, and this means Peanut's going to have to pick up the CS. So this is kind of frustrating, losing a lot of money here. Faker going to get a big win from this. But Doran, meanwhile, on the top side, because of that huge roam for Zeus to try to commit to the kill onto Chovy, will lose some plates.
Delight just having a bit of fun there.
He certainly is.
He's like, I can fight too, guys. You remember when it was Azir versus Lulu every game? You remember that, don't you, Faker?
Yeah. So reminding him of the good old days, and by good, I mean not good.
It was good for Faker. I think his win rate on Lulu is absurdly high.
Good times. It's good to be nostalgic sometimes. For those who don't know Delight, this may surprise you, but he was a Fredit Breon player who got called up here to replace Career in summer 2022. Impressed everyone despite being on a very weak team. Most famous for his Rakan, but he has a very wide champion pool of supports he can play. Very good at the Lulu as well.
I think we've enjoyed him on Enchanter supports kind of the most.
His Renata.
But Rakan really is sort of the standout, which is weird because that's more of the engaged style. But his Renata definitely very, very good. He's just a really great player that I thought was lacking in a bit of accolades.
Yeah.
You could say. So I think you and I especially were very, very keen to see him finally on a team now where he can perform a little bit better, and we'll see whether he does.
Yeah, he's one of those hipster players where you're like, if you're a really hardcore fan of the LCK and you watch everything, you know he deserves a better team.
Yeah.
But if you're not, you're like, who is this guy? Was he on Pro? That's weird.
I mean, if you're just like typing "we knew it" GigaChat in chat, then we know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and
because
you would be
you're
right.
the true fans, right?
This control ward is getting big value here from Faker as it spots Peanut's approach, so he will be able to easily just kite up to the top of the lane here and not get ganked. Owner comes over to set up potentially for a follow-up here, but it's a big party of Gen G players grouping for Dragon.
Yeah. All right, the Dragon going to be started here. Chovy, Weaver's Wall at the ready, spotted out. As Owner has the opportunity to go in for a little bit of a steal. Oh, the polymorph is beautiful. That is going to mean that Peanut can lock this one down. Of course, very difficult to steal things away from an Elise. Very similar to that of Elise Sin. The execute on the Spider Form Q is just pretty good at getting rid of any issues. As Chovy is going to Ghost. Not often a early Ghoster or an early user of Summoner spells, as we saw in the previous engage. This time around, very intelligently, just going to make sure that that one works out as Doran dashing and he gets thrown away.
Chovy's been under so much pressure this game and has just handled it so perfectly. Finds himself significantly behind in CS as a result, and it's a tough matchup into his ear, obviously, to win that, because Faker is going to have that extra prio, he has that extra range, but he's survived so many attempts by Owner and crew, and walks away unscathed, essentially using his Unsealed Spellbook to grab more value out of Ghost. And finally, this Herald will be taken, by the way. Of these two teams, these are the teams that usually are the Herald teams. Taking it very late this time around. Will actually miss the plate gold, but going to be taken now by Gen G, who have both objectives, or both Drakes taken now a third in a row here in this Drake, or rather Herald, excuse me, going all to Peanut. Will cost them a turret, but...
Yeah, I mean, what's happening here? The bottom lane is just being forsaken. FaZe is going to grab himself a red buff.
Yeah.
And T1 are going to look for an inner turret. I mean, what are Gen G going to do about it? They've also got full pressure here in this mid lane as well.
Looks like a bit of a failed awkward lane swap here where Gen G wanted to swap early and send Doran down, but he didn't have teleport, and so they wanted to rotate Paze and Delight over to defend the Herald that T1 didn't contest, so everything was a little bit mistimed and out of whack, and they'll be able to at least save their inner turret, but yeah, that's a lot of free money going over to the Lucian Nami here.
Yeah, really nicely played from T1 macro-wise, but a little bit of a flub, it felt like, for Gen G, dropping the ball slightly. However, it's more of an investment composition, right? You look down the line, you're like, there's a Zeri. Late game, right, guys? I'm not sure whether that's exactly how this composition is going to work in the later stages, because they have a lot of more pick and skirmish mid-game style champions around the Zeri.
Yeah.
But Zeri by herself is late game win condition, right? Faker, yeah. Not going to get found out. Will get flicked as Owner looking for his opportunity. Cease and desist available, but not going to be used.
Can't hide on bush, the hide on bush.
Exactly. He invented this.
Will use his game sense there and blue trinket to spot out those enemies and then back away. And Gen G having a bit of a rougher early mid-game here in terms of finding value. Do have a Herald that's very late that they can't get much value out of. In fact, are going to lose their mid-turret here to the group of a 4. 1-3-1-ing in terms of getting extra experience here, but not threatening that bottom turret is Doran, nor is Chovy in a position where he can actually guarantee that turret gold top himself. Faker's just going to come up here and collect the pieces. It's a cannon wave, so he's not losing much. So T1 really losing nothing, and it's they who actually come and grab mid-turret, even Heraldless.
Yeah. And, I mean, there is a lot about this that is T1 just having better macro, better understanding and better positioning around the map, but also a little bit can be said about how Gen G's playing this one out. Tidal Wave is going to come through. Pace now kiting quite nicely here as Gumayushi just gives Doran a back massage. Zeus getting thrown back, but the Narbar is going to come through. Still needs to be respected. They're unable to get the outer turret in the mid lane. Shirley does basically nothing there. And meanwhile, Faker's on the top side of the map. Weaver's Wall will come in, and now Gen G are trying to force. There it is. Owner should be taken down here as Paze manages to pick up that kill, but Peanut immediately taken out. Doran just running behind the turret, diving forward onto Zeus, and Faker just says, welcome to the LCK, Paze. You're just now some money in my pocket. He's now slightly overextended. Doran will be able to take him down, but the message has been sent.
The message was sent for sure, Atlas, but they actually take the Zeri out this time. A third kill does go over, but at least they prevent Zeri from getting a little bit too crazy in this team fight, because we might have had to certify that one otherwise. Starting this fight off, Faker is on top turret. Gen G know he has teleport, but they want to actually attack this angle so quickly that they get the instant blow up. It's really Zeus who's the hero of this fight because his Narbar is ready. He gets the knockback, buys enough time for Faker to teleport in, and then Faker gets the huge Emperor's Divide. Without that play from Zeus, they don't have enough time. Faker gets turned on, Zeri survives, and it's a completely different story. Still good here for Gen G overall, forcing out that teleport, saving the top turret. But it could have been a lot worse if Zeus hadn't had that heroic play.
Yeah. T1 come out the other end of this feeling very, very good as far as money is concerned. They will now lose their top outer turret. There it goes. But in position to deny Soul Point. Very valuable Soul as well if they're able to stack up
Next tech
more
for
of them.
Zeri.
My goodness, that sounds very, very scary. Yeah, exactly. If Gen G can lock it down, it feels great for them also. But teleport going to come towards that mid lane.
Yeah, Cassante for Doran here, like you say, coming around here on the backside a little bit, has to clear this wave. T1 going to try to collapse in. Zeus trying to manage his Narbar really well here so he can set up for the engage. Now it's going to turn on to Doran, though he's so far back and alone.
There it is. Cease and desist is going to come through. Doran tries to ult to get himself out of there. Does make him a little bit less defensive, but now Tidal Wave going to be used beautifully. Keria has to flash to get out of the way of his former teammate's flick. Not Not going to be seismically shoved this time around, though, but still, Keria with no flash. I mean, that's largely a dead Nami in a lot of scenarios.
Doran has no TP, he has to run all the way back. This is really risky for Gen G to contest, but they feel like with a full health Zeri, they've got enough here. Chovy still has ult.
Yeah, Weaver's Wall can be so impactful in this moment. He's going to use it here, seeing whether he can split them off. Relentless Pursuit to get over the wall, but now Zeus in the back of the pit. He's going to be the one that locks down the Dragon. A disaster for Gen G. They were really relying on that to give them that extra control of the game, but instead they get nothing.
That was so well played by Zeus in the right spot to try to deny this, but still very fortunate that he does lock that one down, because the Weaver's Wall did split T1 quite literally in half, and there was no way to directly contest the Dragon otherwise without giving more kills over to Zeri. This all starts off with Doran looking for a long con flank after he pushed the mid wave in. He gets punished, quote unquote. He still escapes because Cassante is crazy. But once he's out of the fight, this is essentially a 5v4 fight that Chovy can dictate with his Weaver's Wall. And when he does come in to do this, like I said, very fortunate that Zeus can actually steal this one away.
And was forced to repel, I guess,
Yeah.
but I think he came down. I think it was just a 50-50 that went awry.
For sure.
50-50 that got picked up by the rest of the percentage, which is Zeus.
It was a bit of a miss-smite.
Yeah, it's like a 49-49-2, and the 2 managed to get it.
Yeah, he was in position to connect onto it, and they were going to be able to get out pretty easily with Vi and Gnar, the 2 champions in the pit there. But I think T1 could thank their lucky stars they got that, because if we're walking away with they escape, but Gen G has Soul Point here, you're feeling very bad as a T1 fan. With Zeri now already on 2 items, and Gen G being on Soul Point.
Yeah, no, 100%. Especially when it is such a powerful Drake for the composition that they're putting together. Could be definitely a get-out-of-jail-free card in theory. Of course, still need to be able to win these team fights in T1. Remember, they didn't change this roster for a reason. It's because they do work so well together. They've got a comp that can perform extraordinarily well when they are on the same page. We've seen it already. Zeus going to move out of the way of that one quite comfortably.
Yeah, here comes Elise, though.
I've
be the
seen
whole squad.
this movie before. Cocoon is going to connect. That is a very dead Gnar. But does that mean T1 are able to take down this Baron already? They are on top of it. Chovy will be able to get the information, but can the rest of the team actually get there in time?
It's a good question. I mean, he's got Weaver's Wall, but there's no follow-up here. This is going to be super tight. He cuts them in half.
Yeah, does give the information, but I have a feeling they can just rush this one down. Tidal Wave is fantastic at buying time.
Can they get out, though? I think they can.
Yeah, and Zeus is like, well, guys, you managed to get a Baron.
Well,
and the rest of them are like, thanks for your donation.
It's going to be tight.
Let's see how they manage to escape this one. Gumayushi's the one that first gets the information. As now Chovy over from the side. The rest of T1 just cool, calm, and collected, get themselves back, empowered recalls, and they'll go home.
Yeah, with the empowered recalls, there's just no reason for Gen G to try to attempt to collapse and chase here.
Oh,
then when they let
take
it go,
a turret first, yeah.
When they let him go, and once T1 realizes they're just going to let us recall, they can commit to killing the turret here with those Baron minions. Very easy. So T1 getting a massive win here. Yeah, you lose your Gnar player alone bottom side, but if you don't need his damage, his minimal damage on a Baron, it doesn't matter. And look at how close T1 are to setting up this Baron. It almost feels like this was orchestrated, baited from the beginning. Owner's top side, they know it's just Chovy there, and even with Weaver's Wall, it's not going to buy you that much time.
Absolutely.
This is something we saw T1 do all year last year, and they do it again in 2023.
It's gorgeously done. The early T1 Barons. They'll get them some way, somehow. Wolf, and this time it was sacrifice your Gnar and then take it for free. And I feel like that's a pretty good way of doing it. Seismic Shove is going to connect, but Gumayushi doesn't seem too worried about it as they continue to siege down ever further. The gold has barely changed, but still a lot of time with this Baron. A minute and a half to be precise as T1 rotate over towards this inner turret bottom side of the map. Doran desperately wanting to clear out this wave, but he's a tanky boy, not so much a DPS boy when it comes to clearing these waves.
Not so much, but he'll have some help from Pays here. Pays going to pick up some extra money. And actually grabs Last Whisper here.
Tidal Wave. Chovy going to get tagged by that one. The culling comes on in. Seismic Shove is really good at forcing out that relentless pursuit, making sure that you don't get tagged by that too much.
If the Tidal Wave hits at a slightly better angle and Faker has the follow-up Emperor's Divide, you could really pull somebody from a large amount of distance out under the turret, take them off. But Doesn't end up working out. Now it's a huge tool gone before this Baron, or rather, excuse me, before this Drake. But Gen G are just in no position to contest it.
Yeah. Hayes as well, forced to buy himself a last Whisper as well, but now a potential fight. Seismic Shove is going to pull back Gumayusi. Still, he's able to get out. Doran now finds himself on the flank. They managed to get the kill on the Lucian. That is a lot of DPS now missing. All eyes on Faker now as T1 look to try and escape to light. So extraordinarily low as Ona diving on in already. Gets into that backline. Chovy goes golden to make sure that he mitigates it, but Faker has picked up one already. There's the Gnar. The Emperor's Divide as well. Chovy goes down for the double kill. Ona's going to fall, and Pays is the last hope here for Gen G. But it's not going to be enough. He's just going to skate his way out. Does not want to tempt fate this time. Faker is dead. There is not necessarily a lot of DPS left on T1.
Yeah, I'd say, maybe back away from this one. Don't chase too far, as Pays will get out here. Down both summoners now, of course. We did see Faker flash early in the fight, but the Emperor's Divide is amazing. The follow-up from Zeus is great, and technically speaking, T1 do win the team fight because of it. This is the earlier exchange, right? They're up on the turret. Chovy tries to come over here and cut off Faker and Guma. Will force a flash, and then Guma gets caught by Doran. And at this moment in time, you're thinking, there's just no way T1 won this fight. Zeus comes in with no Narbar here on the teleport. Faker dodges this, comes in. There's a follow-up there. Owner's on top of Chovy, forces him to stopwatch. So much DPS is missed. And this is just beautiful team fighting. 1-2 punch here. Gnar into Emperor's Divide, and everybody's locked up. Chovy cares if you don't have a Lucian.
And Carrier as well manages to land the Aqua Prison onto the Zeri over the wall, mitigating so much of that damage. Really nicely done. But now another fight. Gen G have started off this Drake. T1 in position. All 5 members. All buttons ready to be pressed as Doran dives on forward. That's going to be Soul Point, but now the fight is going to begin. Ona inside the pit. Immediately Doran's just going to try and bring him out of there. The all-out is going to come through. There's the cease and desist. Can Doran actually win this one as Pace skates over to meet the Vi? Doran dashes into the brush, but Gen G should be able to escape with this dragon in hand.
Yeah, they grab the dragon here, and T1, with just a Nami and a Gnar from the previous fight, aren't able to take it. They chase Pays a little bit, then Gen G are able to reset just in time, and the chase was on there. And this is one of the things that Cassante could do so well is, yeah, he can't actually win that exchange, but he could put so much pressure on the T1, have to focus him down, and the rest of Gen G get positional advantage and take down the Drake. So not a bloody take of the Drake, but still Gen G walk away with that massive advantage now on Soul Point. Zeri,
yep.
LDR is done. 3 items Zeri, so terrifying.
Doesn't have the Infinity Edge, so not maximum damage just yet, but will be once that IE comes through. An absolutely gigantic threat. LDR at this point, definitely a good idea, given the fact that those resistances have started to come through.
You've pulled Owner out of this fight, and Zeus, he's like, I don't have a Narbar yet. Do I try to turn here and go for the fight on the right side, or do I try to punish this Cassante? And it's a tough call you have to make because your team is also kind of getting cut by that Chovy ultimate, right? The Weaver's Wall, and there's just so much being thrown at T1. It's so difficult to navigate these team fights when Gen G has the good setup.
It's true. However, I think T1 are in a much better position if they're not fighting 4v5. So every time you see that Gumayusi actually exists in the team fight, just take into account that they managed to win a fight without him.
Yeah.
So definitely still a scary time to be Gen G as Ona possibly caught out here. Doran dives on in. There's the exhaust. He's still very, very tanky. Delight has to run the heck out of there as he's taken down almost to nothing. Gumayusi finds his moment and just tags the Lulu. And now it is T1's turn to have 5 versus 4.
Yeah, and this means no wild growth for this fight. If Pays is going to carry it, he's going to do so without that critical ultimate here. Chovy's ult coming up online. Here we go.
Well, Faker has said that he wants to start this one off first. Doesn't exactly find too much joy there with the Emperor's Divide, but the rest of the team, they're there to clean up, and there is nothing that Gen G can do. Doran, yeah, he dashes a million times, but it doesn't matter. Eventually, he will head to the Death Chamber, and the second Baron to be picked up here for T1.
Who needs dragons? T1's just taken the purple one up here on the top side of the map, 2 for 2, and now you have the ability to push and really threaten these inhibitor turrets and actually start taking Gen G out of the map here. The timing was so beautiful of the engage from Faker. Pulls out the stopwatch of Pays so instantly that it's easy to follow up with the Aqua Prison. And turning on to Owner here to try to pick them off is so difficult because of this tidal wave. Look at Chovy and Pays completely zoned out, and by the time they come in here after this Gale Force, they're down a Lulu. There is no wild growth, and we're not done yet.
Yeah, Peanut will be able to slink his way out. Spiderlings give him away, but that's not what T1 are interested in. They want to be able to take down this inner turret on the bottom side and get to work.
I was scared when we cut replays like that. Sometimes it means somebody's dying.
Well, I mean, it was almost
Yeah.
Peanut, so I think it was a good idea to kind of get out of it and get on with the action.
Speaking of, it's slow action, but it's like I said, inhibitor turrets under threat now.
Yeah, Chovy just going to try and help throw some rocks around, clear out these waves as best he can, but not exactly the greatest at taking down these super creeps. They're standing so far away. Does have seismic show. When that does land, things work out quite nicely. Pretty tanky here with the Baron buff now available as Doran diving forward, doesn't find Zeus. Genji well and truly on the ropes.
Have such a good angle for Faker here. If anyone overextends, level 16, Genji just has to respect it and let that turret go. Faker gonna keep this ranged minion alive here. This cannon just chipping away at the inhibitor.
Well, Genji, do they have one last team fight in them? Carrier says maybe they do, as he throws a wave towards them. But it is looking really, really difficult. And the amount of pressure that T1 have had this entire game long, no matter what has actually happened, when it comes to these two teams facing off against each other and trading blows, none of that really matters, because T1 have been in better positions on the map for the whole game.
And the more critical objective has been not solo elemental drakes, but the Baron and what T1 does with it. And their map reads have been so good. Every time Genji wins a fight or gets a kill, T1 gets something greater cross map on the other side. And this is just the veteran shot calling from Faker once again showing through. He's been so good at it throughout these last few years of play, where he's led these young players to so many successful seasons.
Yeah, not to mention the well-oiled machine that is this T1 squad. However, Owner is going to take a lot of damage. We almost cast a cursed him, but he got out. Absolutely fine, doesn't count. Loses his flash, that's fine. They are going to get to work now on this Hextech Drake. Only their second dragon of the game is now Peanut. Could be in trouble. Has to repel, but has absolutely nowhere to go. Oh, the timing was amazing on that tidal wave. And now Zeus trying to fight too. Chovy is here, teleport to come through. They want to try and even out the scoreline while this dragon goes down. And I think, once again, Sacrificial Na is going to come through. Zeus is like, I'm done, I'm getting out of here. Tries to get into the Hexgate, it does not work. And that is a 7th kill for Pays. In the meantime, Doran does have to use that extended dash towards an ally there with his E in order to survive the attempted gank in that mid lane.
Pretty aggressive attempt there this time from Guma with the Gale Force there. Will not be able to take out, unfortunately, the Cassante, but does look for it. And T1, they grab a second Hextech Drake. That's not the most important thing, like what the Drake does for them. It's just denying it here from Genji. That's so important, because if a steal here is massive for Genji because it allows them to defend their base better, because it gives them an Elder fight. Peanuts picked here first. The tidal wave timings, the bubble timings, Aqua Prisons from Keria have been immaculate this game. Like, you probably my front runner for PUG.
I mean, he's 100% kill contribution at 33 minutes into the game.
I gotta say, like, whenever we think Keria has done it all, you know, he can't impress you anymore. He's literally the first support player to pick up an MVP in the LCK. He just comes back and he's like, it's a new year, same me, it's not going to mess it up.
Yeah, exactly. He just doesn't. He's just extraordinarily good. As another flick will connect here, as Owner is like, a bit annoyed. And he's just going to call for a cease and desist onto Doran. Nice unstoppable there, but I don't think it's really going to work out. Gets himself a big old shield. Does have the Gargoyle Stone Plate in order to help him survive. That means cooldown is now wasted, but does still have his Ghost intact, so not exactly end of the world or anything like that. And Gargoyle Stone Plate, not exactly the largest cooldown, so
yeah,
should be fine.
He'll be okay. Will Genji be okay is the question we don't have the answer to.
It's happened though, Wolf.
What's happened?
The Infinity Edge hasn't been completed.
It's now the full, you know,
we have the certification authority on speed dial, as once again, Zeus in a little bit of a troubling situation. Pays fair bit of damage, as we mentioned before, but Crush gets Zeus out of there, and not going to overextend as T1 do collapse.
He does have teleport as well, and Baron's still a full minute away, so not going to be too impactful at the end of the day. At least he survives this time, doesn't need to flash either. But yeah, now Zeri is truly at her normal 3-item power spike, of course at 4 items in this case.
It's a bit sad, isn't it, Wolf?
It's
that,
weird.
This game, this first game for Pays in the LCK, he is now the last hope for for the LCK champions. As Cocoon connects.
Is it
Nicely done
sad,
there.
or is it an opportunity
It
to
is
prove yourself?
definitely an opportunity, but it is so much pressure as now he, takes a lot of damage there from Gumayushi, who says, no, it's not your time. I'm sorry.
His team will
Not
have
in your first game, buddy.
Yeah, his team will have to give him an opportunity to prove himself because Zeri's not a one-man team.
Well, nah, he's going to pull Doran back, and he is just dead. Very nicely picked up there. Gumayushi, the one to grab that last hit, but Zeus setting up for it, finally getting his revenge there.
These picks, you know, the timing of Baron, it's perfect for T1. You poke out Paze, he has to back away. You can't look for a punish as Genji. You can't look for that fight. Suddenly T1 get a kill. That's all they need for a Baron.
Exactly, and okay, that's a really nice flick there onto Faker. He does go golden, trying to keep himself alive as Paze going to get engaged on Cease and Desist comes in. The chain of CC is gorgeous. Gumayushi's able to lock down that kill. Faker does eventually go down, but there's just no damage left. It's just cleanup here for T1 as Chovy, he's like, I'm walling, I'm getting out of here, I'm done.
Save my KDA!
As, Owner is going to say, nah. It is going to be, you know, a bit of a fight for it, but I think that Owner is going to be tanky enough. Walks out of the way of the threaded volley, and there he goes.
Chovy's like, let him kill a Nexus!
Well, here we go. T1 are going to be able to take game number 1 here. Genji had a few moments here and there, but ultimately T1 owned this match. Change in the draft here. I have a feeling that maybe there'll be no more of this Lucian change in the draft here. I have a feeling that maybe there'll be no more of this Lucian Nami gamble that Genji did go for in game number 1. See what actually does have to slip through in order for that to happen, though, is the Maokai once again going to be the first ban. And Genji still making sure they get rid of the Caitlyn.
Yeah, so far, so similar. So we'll be the Elise taken away. That's not going to be allowed this time for Peanut. That was one of the big things that could have opened this game up big time for Genji, is that the dives were a little bit cleaner, or if Paze had utilized the gold lead he had so early a little bit better, Genji could have run away with this, but they just fell apart in the macro a little bit. And I saw a bunch of people tweeting about this, you know, including LS, like, man, Paze had so much of a lead, but it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I think T1 also kind of saying, yeah, we outplayed them in terms of the macro, but I don't want to deal with this again, because it could have gone off the rails.
Well, once again, T1 are going to be armed with the Lucian Nami bottom lane, unless Gen G want to run Lucian something else, but I doubt that's going to happen. Zeri locked in. Vi, the answer. And Owner picks up POG on this Vi, and Peanut says, no, you're not doing it again. My boy Paze is going to have the ability to play the game.
And so it might be Lee Sin this time for Owner.
Oh, that would be fun. Just do it, Owner. Don't be scared. All right, Wukong's going to come through instead. Not exactly targeted CC, but if you get the double Cyclone, then you basically cover like most of the screen, so you'll be fine.
Yeah, not as powerful at setting up for early ganks, obviously, as Lee Sin can engage from such a long range away with his Sonic Wave, but still, Wukong does a lot of damage early, has power across the map, and his ultimate is so good for peeling and engaging. Lulu, we knew, was going to be the obvious support pick here, so no shocker that that's locked in before the second ban phase. And now things can change quite substantially here for Genji in terms of their bans. They take away the Gnar that we've seen have success now 3 games in a row in the LCK. Also Faker's Azir, a lot of respect shown here. These are the 2 picks, I think, that really shaped a lot of those mid-game team fights for T1 and saved them. You know, outside of the macro choices T1 made, it was Faker and Zeus who made sure those fights where Zeri was fed didn't go Genji's way.
No, I agree. I actually wouldn't mind it on the Gen G side whether they just got rid of Gnar and Azir, just to ask Zeus and Faker to play something else. We know that they are more than capable of playing other things, but I think changing up the composition largely enough can very much help them. Kassadin, once again, going to be taken away from Chovy. Saw that Ewan Valdez commentated some pretty nice
Chovy's Kassadin was gross.
Kassadin?
Yeah, it was the most fun part of that show match outside of Cuz randomly winning 1v1s.
And also, like, having the best smite in the universe.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really understand that. Where was that? Okay, the LeBlanc ban going to come in. We're going all in on eliminating the Faker options. I wonder what this means for what Chovy is going to be heading towards.
Well, with no Rise here, I mean, there's a lot of options because, you know, we could see a Camille Galio comp with his Wukong. That sounds pretty crazy at locking Zeri down. We could also see Twisted Fate coming through with obviously no Rise to match. Having that global mid could be really powerful for T1 here with their Lucian Nami lane. This draft is going to be, I think, the most unique one we've seen today because of these kind of unusual targeted bans towards Faker. A lot left open as a result.
I wouldn't mind a Gnar pick here for Gen.G if they wanted to go for it. Of course, Cassante not going to be there, so maybe not as much requirement for that one, but Chovy's going to lock away the Ahri instead.
Chovy's been one of the best blind Ahri players we've had in the LCK.
Just to let you guys know, Chovy can see.
Yes.
It's fine. But yes, he cannot see what Faker is going to play just yet. Lissandra, the classic.
The classic. Oh man, this game is about to get really fun. If Faker locks it in, and he does.
There it is.
So now it's T1's chance to put Zeus on something here that could side lane really well. Fiora's going to be the option.
I like how you're like, side lane really well. He picks the quintessential split push champion.
Well, that's what you want in this comp right now as T1, is you need to be able to long range force fights with this Lissandra, but also be able to pull Gen.G around the map. And Doran on Jace. Jace has been banned a lot today, a lot in challengers, been slightly buffed, but just really strong in this meta right now. And you have this great amount of burst damage, this front-loaded damage from Jace to set up and chip away at those health bars, so that then Ahri can come in and either get a pick, or so that Zeri can clean up a team fight with a big ultimate.
Yeah, I really like the Jace for being able to soften up the members of the T1, exactly like you're illustrating. Certainly will be really, really fun. I hope that Pays switches to Cleanse, because Frozen Tomb, like, you might think Cease and Desist is annoying. Frozen Tomb, you just kind of die when you get hit by that one, instead of just being lifted up into the sky and put back down again. So,
you know, Atlas, it's a sign of the times. Yeah, the bottom meta looks mostly the same, but the top meta is so different. Neither of these teams have really a traditional tank in them at all. We've got Jason, Fiora. The top meta has really, truly come full circle. And as a result, I really like what both of these top laners bring to this composition. When there's not a whole lot of tankiness on the side of T1, they're kind of cooldown based in their tankiness, because Lissandra can just self-ult and then becomes impossible to kill, for example. Fiora can obviously ult, she could repose, so she can become tanky based on her cooldown. She could be difficult to kill. But if you get hit with too many shock blasts and Zeri just runs at you, there isn't a great front line outside of those champions. There's an amazing lockdown. And if Faker has to ult the Zeri, he's not ulting himself, which makes him a vulnerable target for these Jace accelerated shock blasts. I like T1's composition, though, overall better, because I think these veteran players and this roster that we're going to harp on it a lot this season. They've played together for a whole year. I think they're going to be able to pilot this one a lot better than I think Gen.G is still figuring out their synergy with this one, which is a lot more nuanced and complex.
I agree. I also think that T1 have a lot of different ways they can play their composition. The 4-1, obviously, fantastic. But let's get into it once we get onto the Rift. Here we go, guys. Sounds like Gen.G fans have found their voice here at this stage. And of course, backs up against the wall. They're going to win this to stay in this series. We're going to bring us to 3 whole games in this best of 3. That is precisely what we want.
Yeah. That's what I want. We didn't get 3 in the first one.
Yeah.
So at least give me 1 extra. Give me 1 bonus.
Anyway, we were talking about the T1 composition and what it's capable of. I really like, you know, team fighting. You look at Wukong, you look at Nami and the Lissandra, and you're like, oh man, absolutely fantastic. I think that Fiora as well, if she can get into a decent enough position, can also offer a fair bit if you have backline access and can allow that Grand Challenge to provide so much snowball potential in a fight. But also, I just think side laning is so powerful for this composition, and it's something that Gen.G don't necessarily have in their wheelhouse as much. It's only really Chovy that has that opportunity as he's taken Foxfire first. Faker is going to spot him out there, had that ward up and available. That's a face check that Delight didn't really want to go for. They do manage to trade a bit of damage back there, get some money as well.
Pays used his Q to just try to check the brush, but the positionings there for Guma and Carrion on the far right side meant that they kind of falsely assumed they were not in there, and ended up being a fairly even trade regardless, though. Level 1s here, but with these 2 squads in a trade like that is good. Nice shield here on the Pays. Yep, playing it well.
Ebb and flow value, not exactly the most massive. It's all right. We will reserve judgment for the moment. Just fighting for level 2. Are these two bottom lanes?
It's been a while since we've got to see Doran's Jace. A champion that he's not up there in our top 3 Jaces in the LCK, I wouldn't say, but a champion he's very good at. And hasn't been meta for so long that I'm excited to see what he's able to do with it. You know, I was hoping maybe we get some Kana Jace earlier just because it's one of his iconic champions. And
Or
he is
Zeus Jace, for
Zeus,
example.
yes. Zeus also. He didn't play it as many games as Kana has, but still just picked up right where Kana left off in a lot of ways. So we'll see how he does on this matchup.
Yeah, Delight taking a heck of a lot of damage there. Pays trying to trade back, but it's just not working. As you can see, T1 in a great position. They did have to invest the heal. Delight did as well. And so, good position here for T1.
Just a little bit of
bottom side.
You talked about it earlier. There's a little bit of all-in potential at level 2 with this, but it's not with the health bars the way they were in the trade that Delight took previously. So we'll just back away, a heal down, but traded, as you mentioned, and gonna back off here with the wave pushing. Shouldn't lose too much.
Yep. Be able to go back, grab a bit of a longsword, something like that, and head back towards this lane. Delight waiting for a little bit more. To guarantee that he can